Authorities are still investigating the Red Line incident, where dozens reported being trapped underground, one man with a bag of knives, and one rule whispered to every passenger: pick one, you'll need it soon. This is the knife rule. I took the 9:32 Red Line almost every night from work, give or take a few minutes depending on how long it took me to grab dinner at the deli on 4th. This night wasn't any different, at least not at first. The train car was maybe 40% full, tired faces, earbuds in, heads down. No tourists at that hour, just locals who knew better than to make eye contact after dark. I slid into one of the side-facing seats, the kind near the back door where you could see almost everyone. I liked it there. Made me feel a little more in control. Safer, maybe. We were about 2 stops in when he got on. Tall. Caucasian. Probably mid-40s. Shaved head. Hoodie zipped halfway with something bulky underneath. But what got my attention immediately was the bag. Not a backpack. Not a briefcase. This thing looked like an old bowling bag. Leather, square, worn at the seams. Heavy. He grunted as he placed it gently, too gently, on the seat next to him. Then he opened it. I don't know why I kept watching. I should have looked away. But I saw the gleam before I saw the contents. Knives. Not 1 or 2. A bag full of them. Kitchen knives, pocket knives, survival blades. Some looked custom-made, others still had store tags. He pulled them out one by one like he was showing off a collection. People noticed. A woman across the aisle gave him a look. Some guy in a hoodie stood up like he was about to move cars. But then the man spoke, loud enough to cut through the train's hum. "Pick one," he said. "You'll need it soon." He was smiling, not wild-eyed, not twitchy, calm, almost polite. He held up a knife like a waiter presenting a menu item. Stainless steel, 10-inch blade. Still had the barcode on the side. No one moved. He turned slowly to the woman across the aisle. "You look smart. You should be first." She didn't say anything. She just grabbed her bag, stood up, and practically ran toward the front of the car. The train lurched, but she kept going, disappearing between cars. He chuckled. "Suit yourself." Then he turned to the next person, and the next. At this point, half the car was watching, the other half pretending none of it was happening. When his eyes locked on me, I looked away. Too late. "Hey," he said, louder now. "You." I felt it. That spike of adrenaline, the hairs on my arms standing up like antennae. "Pick one." I didn't move. "You will, soon enough." He went back to rummaging, sorting the knives like he was building a display, setting them in rows on the bench next to him, gleaming under the flickering fluorescent light. I reached for my phone. No signal. Underground. I tried texting anyway, fingers shaking. Guy on train has knives, acting weird. Red Line. Near Chestnut, I hit send. No idea if it would go through. He stood up. That got everyone's attention. He left the bag on the seat and started walking slowly down the aisle. Not in a rush. Like he was browsing, holding one of the knives loosely at his side. No threats. No yelling. No demands. Just that same smile. Like he was waiting for something to happen. The train didn't stop. It wasn't supposed to for another 3 minutes. 3 minutes felt like forever. I kept my eyes down. He passed me. Stopped, turned, and placed a knife on the bench next to me. "That one's yours." Then he moved on. I didn't touch it. Didn't even breathe. He did the same thing to 3 other people, placing knives beside them like gifts. At the far end of the car, someone pulled the emergency brake. The train screeched to a halt, throwing everyone forward. When I looked up, the man was gone, but the bag was still there, wide open, still half full, and every person he gave a knife to, still sitting there, holding them. No intercom announcements, no conductor voice, just the low hum of the emergency lights switching on, and the clatter of knives as they slid off seats during the stop. I didn't touch mine. Didn't even want to look at it. But the guy next to me, maybe mid-30s, construction vest, calloused hands, he picked his up, just stared at it, not scared, just confused, like he was trying to figure out if this was some twisted prank. "This some performance art shit?" he mumbled. Nobody answered. A woman up front stood. "We need to go, now." She started toward the back of the car, where the emergency door to the next train section was. But the moment she touched the handle, "You shouldn't," a voice said. We all turned. It was him. The man with the bag. He'd somehow circled back and was now in the aisle behind us. Quiet. Calm. No knife in his hands anymore, but blood on his sleeve. "They won't open," he said. His voice was almost gentle, teacher-like. "That's the trick. They lock them when someone pulls the brake. Has to be reset from the conductor's side." He tapped the emergency door gently with one hand. It rattled, but didn't give. "See?" The woman backed up. Fast. That's when someone screamed. It came from the car behind us, muffled, sharp. Then silence. We all just stood there. No one knew what to do. "Now," the man said, walking slowly back to the center of the car. "Now you understand." He gestured to the knives. "Pick them up. You'll need them." "Why?" someone yelled. "What the hell are you talking about?" He smiled wider. "Because there are more of us." That's when the lights cut out. For a second, I thought the power had failed entirely. Total blackness. The kind that drowns everything. But then a red glow kicked in from the emergency strips along the ceiling, like being inside a submarine under attack. Everything looked warped and blood-tinted. And in that light, we saw him open the emergency window, climb out, and disappear. He left the bag, left the knives, left us sealed inside. And that's when the banging started. Not on our car, on the one behind us. Rhythmic. Fast. Like someone, or several someones, pounding fists or blunt objects against the walls. Then we heard a sound I can still hear in my sleep. Laughter. Not one voice. Multiple. And then, a voice I recognized. "Pick one. You'll need it soon." Same words, but now from someone else. Another man's voice, mimicking him, mocking us. That's when the conductor finally came over the intercom, static-filled, panicked. "Everyone remain seated. Authorities are inbound. Do not attempt to exit the train." Someone shouted. "People are screaming back there. What's happening?" No answer. Just more pounding. Then, glass breaking. We couldn't see what was happening in the car behind us, but we could hear it. The dull thud of bodies. The scrape of metal. Another scream. Closer this time. And the unmistakable clang of someone trying to open the locked emergency door between our car and the chaos behind it. Thud, thud, thud. It wasn't the man with the bag. This one was bigger, shadowed, shirtless. Something shiny in his hand. He started ramming the door. Someone grabbed the bag of knives and started handing them out. No arguments this time. I didn't take one. Not yet. I don't know why. But I started backing toward the front of the car, looking for any way out. "We have to get out," a woman near me whispered. "We're trapped." That's when I noticed the fire escape hatch in the ceiling. Emergency use only. I pointed. "There. We can climb up. Get to the roof." "That's suicide," the guy with the construction vest said. "Third rail. Power lines. So is staying here." He looked back toward the door. Another crash. This time, it bent inward. They were getting through. And that's when the red lights went out too. Total blackout. And someone whispered, "Pick one or be picked." The second those red emergency lights blinked out, everything became sound. The deep creak of metal flexing. The thud, thud, thud of fists or weapons on the back car door. And the worst part, people starting to breathe louder, panic breathing, shaking, whimpering. I pressed my back to the train wall, feeling the cold against my spine. My eyes were wide open but saw nothing. No silhouettes, no movement, just void. Until the flicker started. One of those emergency glow sticks. Someone had cracked one open, and for a second I thought it was helpful. But then I saw what it illuminated. A man near the center of the car, one of the ones who had picked up a knife earlier, was crying. Not panicked, sobbing. Silent, terrified tears, like he knew something the rest of us didn't. "He's not alone," he whispered. "Who?" someone asked. The man with the bag, he said this wasn't the first time. The glow stick pulsed brighter. That's when we saw it. The emergency door between our car and the one behind us, it was cracked open, bent inwards like something had forced it. A hand slipped through. It wasn't trying to open it wider. It just hovered there, pale, twitching. Fingernails caked in something dark. "Run," someone whispered. But we couldn't run. We were stuck underground, sealed in. Unless... I looked back up at the ceiling hatch, the escape panel. I wasn't waiting anymore. I climbed the nearest seat, unlatched the cover, and pushed up. It gave way with a groan. Cold air rushed in, full of dust and iron. "Up here," I hissed. No one moved at first, so I reached down and yanked the crying man's sleeve. He came with me. Another person followed, then another. 4 of us made it up. The rest? They hesitated too long. As I pulled myself onto the train roof, I heard the sound that still haunts me. Metal ripping. The back door finally gave way. There was screaming. But not all of it was from fear. Some of it was laughter, a sick, guttural cackling that made my stomach flip. I crouched on the roof, knees bleeding from the sharp metal edge, trying not to breathe too loudly. Below me, I could feel movement. Shadows flickering through the rooftop air vents. Footsteps pacing up and down the aisle. But no running, no chasing. Just slow, deliberate walking. Like they were choosing. One of the people beside me whispered, "We have to get off the train." I nodded, but we were still between stations. Maybe 300 feet from the next platform. Too far to jump safely, but close enough to crawl along the edge. That's when the emergency power finally kicked in again. The interior lights flickered back on, and through the nearest rooftop vent, I saw it. Knives, dozens of them, stuck into the walls, like trophies, like they'd been used. The vents along the roof weren't fully open, but they were wide enough to see everything. The knives were stuck into the train walls at eye level, all of them gleaming under the flickering lights. Some were smeared with red. Some had strands of fabric or hair still caught on them. Others looked untouched, waiting. The train below us had gone completely silent. Too silent. And that's when we noticed something even worse. The conductor's car was empty. We could see it from the rooftop hatch. A narrow sliver of view through the front window. No one was at the controls. No movement. No sound. Just the train, sitting dead on the tracks, its heartbeat gone. The guy next to me, Joel, I think his name was, leaned over the roof edge and said, "We can't stay here." He was right. We had maybe 200 feet of dark tunnel between us and the platform. No third rail on the side we were on, just concrete and darkness. If we could get down from the roof safely, we might make it. But before we could decide, we heard the click. The hatch behind us, the one we climbed through, was moving. Someone was opening it from below. I crawled backwards on my hands and knees, motioning for the others to stop breathing. The cover creaked. Just a sliver. Then a face appeared. But it wasn't the man with the knives. It was someone younger, late 20s maybe. Pale, wide eyes, sweating through his clothes. He looked just as terrified as we were. "Please," he whispered. "Don't leave me down there." I should have pulled him up, but before I could move, something grabbed him, yanked him back through the hatch so violently I heard his head smack metal. Then, silence. Gone. Joel and I stared at each other. His lips moved like he was trying to say something, but no sound came out. The girl behind us was already moving. She started crawling along the roof edge toward the front car, gripping the rail like her life depended on it. I followed. Every foot forward, I expected the hatch to burst open again. Expected. Someone, or something, to climb up. But it never did. And then, we saw movement on the platform ahead. Flashlights, uniforms, police. They were running toward us, yelling, pointing. We dropped down to the gravel beside the tracks and sprinted. I didn't even notice I was barefoot until I hit broken glass. The pain didn't register, not then. Not when adrenaline was the only thing keeping me upright. They took us to the surface. EMTs checked us. Cops separated us for questioning. One officer kept asking me the same thing, over and over. Who else was on the train? How many did you see? I couldn't answer. I didn't know who was passenger and who wasn't. That night made the news, but not like you'd think. They blamed it on a deranged man, allegedly carrying weapons and causing a panic on a stalled Red Line train. Said authorities responded, but the suspect escaped. No one was seriously injured. That was a lie. They found blood. They found knives. They found shoe prints on the ceiling of the train car, like someone had walked upside down. But they never found him, or the guy who begged us to pull him up, or the conductor. A week later, I got a letter. Handwritten. No return address. Inside was a single line. You were supposed to take one. And taped to the page was my knife. The one he placed next to me before everything started. I stared at that knife for a long time. Not because it scared me, but because of how familiar it looked. The handle was smooth, wooden, worn. There were faint initials carved into the grip. Not mine, not anyone I knew, but the blade. I'd seen it before, on the train, next to my seat. Back when I thought I had a choice. I didn't tell anyone about the letter, didn't bring it to the cops, didn't mention it during the follow-up interviews. I just slipped the knife into a drawer in my kitchen, beneath a stack of takeout menus, like I could hide it from memory. But I couldn't. Because things started to change after that. Subtle things, at first, like the way people would glance at me in public, hold their gaze just a beat too long, or the times I'd check the time and realize an hour had passed I didn't remember. I started avoiding public transportation altogether. Took cabs, walked, didn't matter. He found me anyway. It was a Thursday. I was walking home from a late shift, empty streets, quiet. I passed a bus stop. No one there, except for a man sitting on the bench with his back to me. He wasn't moving, just sitting, and resting at his feet, a familiar black duffel bag. My stomach dropped. I walked faster, didn't look back. At least, not until I heard the voice. You still have it, don't you? I turned. The bench was empty. No man, no bag. Just a knife, lying on the sidewalk, clean, gleaming under the streetlight. I didn't pick it up. This time, I ran. The dreams started after that. Always the same. I'm back on the train. Red lights flickering. The smell of metal and sweat. And around me, everyone is holding a knife. Everyone except me. They stare like I've betrayed them, like I was supposed to join them. And in the final moment just before I wake up, the man leans in and says, "You made your choice. Now you live with it." I tried to throw the knife away, tossed it into a storm drain miles from home. Didn't matter. It was back in the drawer the next morning. I burned it. Gone for a week. Then I found it on my pillow. I even mailed it across the country to a P.O. box I don't even own. Didn't stop it. It always comes back. So now, I keep it. I don't touch it. I don't use it. But I don't get rid of it either. Because I think the rules have changed. Back then, on that train, we were given a choice. Pick one, or be picked. But I didn't choose. And now I'm not a passenger anymore. I'm something else. I saw a man on the bus today. Nervous, jittery. Kept checking his phone like he knew something was about to go wrong. He didn't notice me sit next to him. Didn't notice when I unzipped my bag. Didn't even look up when I set it gently on his lap. Inside were 7 knives and a note that said, "Pick one. You'll need it soon."